Listen to me now. There comes a time when some people try to mess with the wrong country. You know what I'm talking about? When the big shots think they can still push around nations like it's the old days. When certain leaders make comments about India thinking they'll just take it quietly like before. But let me tell you something that happened recently that will pump you up. When those attacks came from the West, when Trump's people and others tried to lecture India about democracy and human rights, everybody expected the same old response. You know, the polite diplomatic letter, the quiet backroom discussions, maybe some soft words to smooth things over. Instead, what the world got was a masterclass in how to destroy your critics without even raising your voice. And let me tell you, it was absolutely beautiful to watch. Now, for decades, you know what the world expected from India? They expected the same old routine. Bow down, say please, say thank you, take the hits, and smile. Be grateful for scraps. Be happy with leftovers. Keep your mouth shut when the big boys are talking. That was the old India, and everybody got comfortable with that India. You see, the Western powers got used to this pattern. They could make any statement, throw any shade, question any decision, and expect India to respond with diplomatic politeness. We regret the misunderstanding they expected to hear. We value our partnership they thought would come next. We look forward to dialogue was supposed to be the standard response. That's how the game was played for generations. The former colonial powers would speak, and the former colonies would listen respectfully. They would criticize, and the criticized would explain. They would lecture, and the students would take notes. But listen up, because I'm about to blow your mind. That India, it's terminated, gone, finished, dead and buried. That what replaced it is something nobody saw coming, something that changed the entire dynamic of global politics in one single response. What we got now is a completely different beast. A new India that doesn't ask for permission. A new India that doesn't need approval. A new India that walks into the room and everybody stops talking because they know a real champion just arrived. This new India has been building quietly for years. While others were talking, India was working. While others were making promises, India was delivering results. While others were playing political games, India was solving real problems for real people. And slowly the world started to notice. They saw the space program launching rockets for a fraction of NASA's cost. They saw the digital revolution connecting 1 billion people to the internet. They saw the economic growth lifting hundreds of millions out of poverty. They saw the vaccine production saving lives not just in India but around the globe. But some people, they don't like it when the underdog becomes the champion. They don't like it when the student surpasses the teacher. They don't like it when their comfortable assumptions get challenged by uncomfortable realities. See, when the attacks came from certain Western leaders, when they tried to lecture India about how to run its own house, everybody was waiting for the same old response. They expected India to scramble, to make excuses, to bend over backwards trying to explain itself. That's what they were used to. The critics probably thought they had this figured out. They probably prepared for damage control, for backtracking, for the usual diplomatic dance where India would soften its positions and make compromises to keep everyone happy. They probably expected phone calls from Indian officials asking for private meetings to clarify misunderstandings. They probably expected India to send delegations to explain its perspective quietly, diplomatically, without making waves. They were thinking this would be easy, just like the old days. Apply a little pressure, make some public statements about concerns, and watch India adjust its policies to keep the relationship smooth. But you know what they got instead? They got crushed, absolutely crushed. And not just crushed, but crushed in a way that made them look foolish for even trying. Crushed in a way that exposed their own weaknesses while highlighting India's strength. Crushed so completely that they didn't know how to respond. India's response wasn't loud, it wasn't angry, it wasn't desperate. No. It was something much more dangerous. It was controlled power. It was like watching a bodybuilder who doesn't need to flex because everybody can already see the muscles. But here's what made it even more powerful. The response came from Jaishankar, India's external affairs minister. And this guy, let me tell you, he's like the diplomatic version of a world champion. Smart, prepared, unshakable under pressure. When he stepped up to that podium, he didn't come with emotions. He came with facts. He didn't come with anger. He came with intelligence. He didn't come to defend. He came to educate. The message was simple, but it hit like a sledgehammer. You want to talk about democracy? Let's talk about democracy. You want to discuss human rights? Perfect. Let's discuss human rights. But don't think for 1 second that you can lecture Adios while your own house is burning down. But it wasn't just what he said. It was how he said it. Calm, measured, professional, like a surgeon performing an operation. Every word was precise. Every pause was calculated. Every sentence was designed to maximum impact. Now, that right there, that's what I call strength, real strength. Not the fake kind where you scream and shout and make a lot of noise. Real strength is when you stay calm while everybody else is losing their minds. You see, in bodybuilding, we have a saying, the iron never lies. And in diplomacy, the facts never lie either. When you've built something real, when you've achieved something substantial, when you've got the results to back up your words, you don't need to get emotional. You just present the evidence and let it speak for itself. That's exactly what happened here. India didn't need to prove anything because the proof was already there for everyone to see. While other countries were busy with wars and conflicts, India was busy building infrastructure. While others were dividing their people, India was uniting 1 billion diverse citizens under one flag. While others were talking about innovation, India was actually innovating. And let me tell you something that really pumped me up about this whole thing. India didn't just defend itself. No way. That would be too easy. Instead, it went on the offensive. But not with anger, with facts. Not with emotion, with intelligence. Not with excuses, with achievements. It's like when someone challenges you in the gym, questioning your form, your technique, your dedication. You don't argue with them. You don't waste energy getting mad. You just add more weight to the bar and show them what real strength looks like. That's exactly what India did on the global stage. The beauty of this response was that it exposed the double standards that have existed for decades. When Western countries make decisions based on their national interests, it's called leadership. When India does the same thing, suddenly it's called nationalism. When Western countries prioritize their citizens, it's called good governance. When India prioritizes its citizens, suddenly there are concerns about minorities. India basically said, hold up, let's examine this logic. Let's see if these standards apply equally to everyone or if there's a special set of rules just for us. It basically said, you're concerned about our democracy. Where was this concern when you needed our help? You're worried about our internal matters. How about you fix your own problems first? That's like a champion boxer who doesn't just block the punches but counter punches so hard that his opponent forgets what he was even swinging for. The beauty of this response was in the timing. India didn't react immediately like some hothead. No, it waited, it calculated, it prepared, and then, when the moment was perfect, it delivered a knockout blow so clean, so precise, that the whole arena went silent. You see, the old powers, they're not used to this. They're used to countries that need their approval, that beg for their friendship, that change their policies based on Western pressure. But India said, we're not playing that game anymore. This wasn't just some diplomatic statement. This was a declaration of independence, not political independence, because India got that in 1947. This was psychological independence, mental independence, the kind that says, we know who we are, we know what we're worth, and we don't need you to validate us. Let me break this down for you in simple terms. When you're building your body, there comes a point where you stop caring what other people think about your workout. You stop asking for advice from people who never lifted a weight in their life. You just focus on your gains, your progress, your goals. That's exactly where India is right now. While other countries are still asking, is this okay? Are you happy with us? Did we do good? India is saying, here's what we're doing. You can join us or you can watch from the sidelines. Your choice. And the numbers back it up. While the West was busy talking, India was busy building. Space program, check. Digital revolution, check. Economic growth, check. Lifting millions out of poverty, check. All done without asking permission from anybody. So when the criticism came, when the lecture started, India had receipts. Real receipts. Not promises, not plans, but actual results that you can see, touch, and measure. The response basically said, you want to judge us? Fine. Let's compare report cards. Let's see who's actually getting things done and who's just making noise. And that comparison, my friends, that's what left them speechless. Because when you put the achievements side by side, when you look at the actual progress, the results speak for themselves. Now, here's what really got under their skin. India didn't get defensive. Defensive is weak. Defensive means you're apologizing for who you are. Instead, India got offensive in the smartest way possible. It started asking the right questions. Why do your standards change when it comes to us? Why is our success suddenly a problem? Why do you call it nationalism when we protect our interests, but leadership when you do the same thing? Those questions, they cut deep. Because they exposed the double standard. They revealed the hypocrisy. They showed the world that the emperor has no clothes. And the beautiful thing about asking the right questions is that you don't need to provide the answers. The answers are obvious to anybody with eyes and a brain. You just need to point people in the right direction and let them figure it out. This is what happens when a nation stops being the student and becomes the teacher, when it stops following and starts leading, when it stops reacting and starts setting the agenda. The old India would have sent a formal letter. The old India would have requested a private meeting. The old India would have tried to smooth things over quietly behind closed doors. But this new India, it stood up in front of the whole world and said, if you have something to say about us, say it to our face and be ready for a response. That takes guts. That takes confidence. That takes the kind of inner strength that you can't fake and you can't borrow from somebody else. See, what the world witnessed wasn't just diplomacy, it was transformation. Like a caterpillar becoming a butterfly, like a skinny kid becoming a champion bodybuilder. The change was so dramatic that people couldn't believe their eyes. For years, certain countries thought they could treat India like a junior partner. Pat them on the head, give them some aid, throw them some trade deals, and expect gratitude and obedience in return. But India grew up, India got strong, India developed its own muscles, its own voice, its own vision, and when it flexed for the first time, the whole gym went quiet. The message was clear, we're not you, little brother anymore. We're not your student, we're not your charity case, we're your competitor, your equal, and in some areas we're already ahead of you. That's a hard pill to swallow for people who built their identity on being the teachers, the leaders, the ones in charge. Suddenly they're looking at a former colony that's launching rockets, building tech companies, and showing the world how democracy can work for 1 billion people. And instead of celebrating this success, instead of being proud of India's achievements, some chose to criticize, to find fault, to create problems where none existed. Big mistake, huge mistake. Because India didn't just respond to the criticism. It used the criticism as fuel. Like a boxer who gets stronger after taking a hit, India came back harder, smarter, more focused than before. The response wasn't emotional, it was surgical. It wasn't loud, it was lethal. It cut through the noise, the politics, the games, and went straight to the heart of the matter: respect. If you want respect, you give respect. If you want partnership, you treat us as partners. If you want friendship, you act like friends. But if you want to play games, we'll show you how the game is really played. And that's what happened. India didn't just win that exchange. It redefined the rules of engagement. It shifted the power dynamic. It changed the conversation from what's wrong with India to what's right with India's approach. The world took notice, not just politicians and diplomats, but business leaders, young people, other developing